Welcome to the Bold Analysis. Today I watched in dismay in the Citizen TV morning show when the Belgut Member of Parliament Nelson Koech made a serious admission that sometimes the president makes some moves, or rather makes some utterances that are made to scare the public.
Again, I'll come to Honorable Koech.
I'm just telling you what our society
is. Do you
is.
think the president has the powers to arrest?
He doesn't. Even to instruct the police.
Okay. Do you think
Nelson Harvey knows very well that the president cannot even direct the National Police Service.
And do you think he has
because it is not allowed. He cannot prosecute.
Why then do you think he makes that in a constitutional democracy like ours?
I think people just overthought it. The president was simply expressing something that probably, and it worked somehow. Let me tell you, when you're playing power, sometimes you do not necessarily have to stick to the script. Sometimes you make statements that will scare people. Let me tell you even how when I run in my constituency, it does not necessarily mean that I'm extremely popular. But if you go to a public rally, and I'm teaching this to Nelson Harvey, probably that he's going to have a shot on his member of parliament. Of
President of the Republic of
That next time you go into a public rally, you scare people. You say this thing is taken. Even if this section, if this small section don't vote for me, I am taking it.
This admission is a serious indictment on the Ruto administration, and it's very regrettable, especially at a time the country is witnessing a very shocking and scary kidnappings of the members of public. But again, of interest to this, if scare is part of the strategy that is going on, then it means even the plan to stop pressure by the 25 MPs allied to Rigathi Gachagua was part of that scare strategy. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our video. I got a very interesting response here through that interview. Nelson Harvey said something that I would want us to hear, because it's going to help us get the basis of what actually we are dealing with. That the president cannot say, we don't know, and what has happened, there is no way we can come out and the NPS, or rather the police, can make the members of the public to celebrate what according to them is a success. For example, when the police runs posts in social media saying so has been reunited with the family. So reunited is not the news, or rather released from where? And even today, The Nation had a very interesting headline that I really like, when they said, freed from whom?
Coming to you first, Nelson Harvey, advocate. This certainly, given the series of abductions that have happened and the accounts by the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, it's a leap in the direction of darkness, is it?
It is indeed a leap in the direction of darkness. A formidable indictment against the Kenya Kwanza administration. We cannot have an administration that does not protect the sanctity of life. And when queried on the whereabouts of Kenyans who are missing, the pronouncement that comes from the echelon of leadership of the country pronounces that it is not aware of what is happening. If then the top organ of management of a country is not aware of what's happening, then who is aware of what is happening? That is the conundrum that we face right now. There is a breakdown. There's a total failure of administration in this country. And what happened yesterday should not be celebrated in the form of giving credit to the government. No. I saw clarion calls that free at last. Free from what? We've not been fighting for independence. We've not been fighting for second liberation. We have a working constitution with a Bill of Rights that guarantees the sanctity of life, the safety of all individuals. We should never celebrate this nonsense. because they ought not to have been abducted in the first place. So that the National Police Service, the DCI, should not thrive in that statement they released yesterday, that they are now free and with their family. Free from what? What offense had they committed? Which court had they been arraigned? Which penitentiary had they been subjected to for imprisonment for them to be freed? No. Somebody has to be held accountable.
I kept on saying, before these boys were released, the demand was either we find them, the mothers, to get them. And after they are released and they're now in safe custody of their parents, of their relatives, then the question of freedom from whom is important, so that we now understand the real picture. There is something that have been said, and I want us to debunk this notion. I can see the ruling side appearing in panel interviews and saying the president cannot give orders to IG and is not really attached to the police operation. This fidelity to the constitution pitch by these MPs is dishonest because, to the best of our knowledge, the appointing authority of the IG, the president is one of the appointing authorities. After the interviews, the names are taken to parliament. It is the president who takes those names to parliament. And IG cannot defy what the president wants, because the president can sack him with a stroke of the pen. If he was able to organize his troops in parliament so that the second in command is shown the door, what is so difficult with that? So to that I was trying to consolidate a point there, that everything happening in the country has the nod of the president. And that is why today a caucus allied to Deputy President dispatched notices to media houses, invite to media houses, that they were going to issue a press briefing in Nairobi, just in response to the government's stand on allegations of abduction. And today, there was some panic around Nyayo roundabout, and as you can see, when a contingent of police officers with the security artillery were hovering around Nairobi and actually surrounding the place where the legislators were issuing that press briefing. And this was seen as part of the strategy to scare the MPs and, of course, the members of the public that will come out probably to show solidarity with it. With one of the thoughts that was there, that after that press briefing there will be some protest walk in Nairobi CBD over this issue of abductions. So the presser was done.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Kenyan people who united in a concerted effort to advocate for the release of the abductees by mounting public pressure and threats of mass protests. This raises significant questions about the government's responsiveness and commitment to upholding the rule of law. We also appreciate the ICC quick response in opening the portal for reporting human rights abuses by the state actors and other collaborators in setting early stage of collating the data ready for the eventuality. This collective action demonstrates that through the sovereign power vested to us by the Kenyan Constitution, we can stand together to hold the rogue government accountable for its actions. Let us continue to raise our voices in pursuit of justice and accountability for our country. We urge the President and the Executive to ensure the immediate release of the remaining abductees. It is particularly troubling that the police have yet to apprehend anyone in connection with the abductions of the Kitengela 3, whose 32 days of torture remain uninvestigated and for which no perpetrators have been held accountable. In light of these grave issues, we hereby call for the following actions collectively as leaders representing the great people of Kenya. 1. Establishment of an independent public commission of inquiry. This is to investigate the alarming series of abductions targeting individuals perceived to be critics of the President and Executive. These abductions represent a systematic attempt to silence dissent and instill fear among the populace of Kenya. 2. To examine the politicization within the police services and force and other independent institutions. This includes investigating instances where security forces have been forced and used for political gains or to intimidate and persecute dissenting voices.
And if you listen to what the MPs, those different MPs are saying, of course, that presser was called for 3 reasons, if you ask me. That presser was supposed to counter what the government said yesterday. Because by yesterday, there are all manner of spin narratives that Rigathi Gachagua is the one that was abducting these patriots. That it was Rigathi Gachagua is the one that was abducting. So that was the first objective. The second objective, they were trying to consolidate. They were trying to show their numbers. They are just 25. They're talking about the abduction. So they also wanted to show that probably we have our numbers. Number 3, they knew very well that the hard-hitting statement was going to, probably it was going to make members of the public continue talking about it. And the police were determined to suppress that move by the Rigathi axis. In fact, there is something that always happens. I don't know why sometimes government find itself a bit disorganized, because you'll find one person attending a funeral like Kimani Ichung'wah saying so-and-so is the one doing these abductions. Someone in the comfort of his room or in some bar just did a tweet, runs a tweet and says so-and-so, you need to get careful. Now, what Rigathi was trying to do, he was trying to show, I am organizing my team. In fact, without some show of bias, the team allied to towards Rigathi Gachagua are gaining more visibility. And one person that should be worried is Kalonzo Musyoka. Where is Kalonzo? Because this is the time the country needs to hear his voice. I was asking someone, informal talk, was saying probably Steve seemed to have taken a break from all these political activities going on. But now this is the time, this was his time, maybe to get visibility. They're showing the government side that we are organized and this is the agenda. In fact, they are setting the agenda. Remember, the agenda of the state was, we bring this issue to a closure. And that is why the police said they have reunited with their families, and then they made another statement saying, we are opening investigations. But of course, that is just part of the statement. But in real sense, President Ruto and his security team and the political think tanks understands well that this issue of abduction is making government unpopular, and they will want to bring it to a closure. They will want to bring that discussion to a closure. As to whether they're ending abduction is another story. Maybe I cannot answer that. Now, why did the statement from the 3, why was it in the interest of the state for it to be suppressed? because the statement is amplifying and is showing voters that if you look at the 25 legislators, it's bringing together some senators and MPs, especially 25. Out of the 25, nearly 22 are from Mount Kenya. 2 or 3 are from the other side, from outside Mount Kenya. So, and absolutely there is nothing wrong with that. Rigathi is building a constituency. They wanted to show people that if you're from Mount Kenya and you're not part of this statement, so you are supporting abduction. And if you're supporting abduction, the public needs to, this is something right here. Members of the ruling side, the ruling class, they're finding a way to make corners around it. None is coming out to say outwardly that I don't support abductions. Number 2, they wanted, the Rigathi caucus wanted the discourse on this to continue. And they knew that when you invite media today, that you have some information you want to say about abduction, you're going to get that coverage because that is the topic of public interest. Then probably the government was pushing narrative and defensive edge, and they wanted to put the government on that corner. Now, let me say this. Looking at what has happened, and even the statement, there is a lesson that this country must learn in boosting our governance, structure, and our politics. Never again should the country entertain this artificial, coming together of minority and majority side in pretext of some handshake. It should not be entertained. Why am I saying? When the opposition, when people go to election, everyone wants to form government. But our constitution created a chance for opposition to put government on check. The role Rigathi Gachagua was playing, and even Raila Odinga pronounced himself on this abduction, that role is the role of minority. And I can tell you, there's some things that will not happen were it not for that broad-based arrangement. Even the statements from Oscar Sudi that no one serves one term. While in the US, Biden has served one term. Biden served one term. Same with Trump, served one term. Even in, I think, Liberia, if I'm not wrong, George Weah served one term. This conundrum of minority and majority side coming together, if the country is not, if our constitution do not stop that, that coming together, we are in for a road shock. I want you to imagine that Raila, Rigathi, Uhuru, Ruto are speaking the same language from the same party, and these boys have been abducted. No one is standing with Mwananchi. What Rigathi did played a big role. I remember when we went to the statement he made in Embu. I was at home. He said, kama wameua watoto watupatie mwili. Wah! I was listening to that over the radio home with my parents, and we were like, wow, enyewe wawalete tu. So what am I saying? There needs to be a watchdog. Government needs a watchdog. When there is no watchdog, it's a big letdown on our governance structure. When Rigathi stood the ground and pushed on this abduction issue, he caused an emotional appeal, and that really shaked. That had a shake on the president. And in fact, consolidating the opposition voices against government by his statement. And the other thing that Rigathi Axis played well on this abduction is, if something that the state doesn't want to hear is this issue of Gen Z. So Rigathi came out as identifying himself or gaining traction from the Gen Z demographic. If the word Gen Z will be key in the next general election, it is now. In 2025, we have a rider in this podcast that will always be reminding you that it is your duty to participate in the democratic process. 2025, as you continue, as you complain, as we highlight some of the things that your elected leaders are doing, the responsibility is on your side. Make sure you have a voter's card. Go and register as a voter. You don't need IBC to be constituted. Even now you can walk and register as a voter. That is the only tool that is remaining for you as Wanjiku. Because I can tell you the political class is organizing you and disorganizing you. So make sure, 2025, make sure you have a voter's card. Register. That is our idea for the Bold Podcast. Thank you.